So this is Surah Baqarah, Ayah 41. Believe in my revelations which confirm your scriptures. Do not be the first to deny them, or trade them for a fleeting price, and be merciful of me. So why is Allah saying to
First deny them for trade, yeah.
So why is it confirming my scriptures?
Because your scriptures say not to have tattoos. It says there is a heaven. It says there is a God.
Okay, that's something.
However, it doesn't confirm lies about your scriptures,
Okay,
which are contained within its pages.
Where does it say that? Where's that in the Quran?
It is the Quran. The Quran says that Jesus didn't die on the cross.
Right.
It was only appeared as so. When your book says it
Right.
does. But furthermore, it says that people of the past wrote with their own hands and ascribed
Right.
it to God, which is exactly what
But
Paul
there's
did.
a
And that is a grave sin, and it misleads men.
I get that, but there's a difference between what Christians and Jews say, which the Quran often condemns, and what's in their written scriptures, which the Quran says it confirms.
That's wrong.
Okay, well, can you show me where Surah An-Nisa, Ayah 157 mentions the scriptures?
You are wrong.
Okay, how?
What I just said is exactly the answer to what you just said. You just said it afterwards.
So my argument to what you just said is there's a distinction between what people say orally, which, for example, Surah 4, Ayah 157 say the Jews say they have killed the Messiah.
This is an unrelated point. They call it a straw man. This is not
No, I don't think you're quite tracking what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's a difference between the Quran condemning what Christians and Jews say and what is in their written scripture that the Quran confirms.
straw man.
Why is that straw man?
Because the point was, the second part of it, we're talking about just that, not the first part, is that your scriptures have issues. That's what the Quran is asserting. These issues are
Where does
out.
it say that?
Like I said, the Quran itself is a manifestation of not only the issues, but the corrections for those issues. Jesus did not die on the cross, nor was he resurrected because he didn't die on the cross. The reason being is because people assume he was died on the cross. Furthermore, on the Sabbath, for you, if you were to follow the old days, you would assume that you're not allowed to do anything on the Sabbath besides worship. And if you were a Jew, you'd say even less. You're not allowed to leave your house or do electronics. However, for you, that's incorrect, even if it was true in the past. That is the nature of why we don't agree with everything in your scripture, because your scripture has things that are not correct either for a temporal reason, it's not suitable for our generation, or because a man lied about it and you believe it as the scripture.
Okay. Right, so first
Do
of
you
all...
believe that? Or do you think I'm just chatting?
I feel like you're just chatting because...
we'll both just be chatting.
Right, but my point is that the Quran, when it speaks about actual scriptures or revelations, it only ever praises them.
Wrong.
Can you show me where it ever says bad things about scripture or revelation?
The fact that it says the only acceptable religion in the sight of Allah is Islam is a direct jab at every other religion.
Well,
and everything they stand on.
Okay, but as part of Islam, do you have to believe in the revelation that was sent previously?
I think there was one. But like I said,
it's part of the 6 articles of Iman.
Like I said originally, it's impossible and unfair for you to find the revelation without God's help in the Quran and in the Hadith.
Right, but if I were to believe the Sunni perspective, I would have to believe in the Torah and the Injil just as much as I believe in the Quran.
You believe that they existed. That is the extent of your belief of it now.
You don't. Okay, so when this is being revealed in the context of Jews and Christians in the 7th century, how would Jews and Christians interpret that? If you went up to a Jew or a Christian in the 7th century and went, you need to follow your Torah.
You're playing games with time. Maybe not on purpose. Not on purpose.
I don't think you've thought deeply enough about this.
Don't patronize me that way.
I'm not patronizing you, I just think you need to think more about this.
The issue that we're saying is, this topic is for you now. Not before the Quran, not around the time of now. This is your book.
But before the Quran, there was problems.
The direct order for you now. You can't say before because number one, you don't have much info. You only have assumptions.
Well, no, the Quran tells us what was applicable before. No. That's the whole point.
Wrong. It doesn't.
It doesn't?
It doesn't.
So it doesn't say the revelation before was applicable to Christians and Jews. They weren't to judge according to... What do you mean playing games? You know that's true.
I'm going to lay out exactly what I'm saying, and then you can highlight what you don't get about the very straightforward thing I'm saying.
All right. I think you don't quite get it.
Before the time of the Prophet Muhammad being a prophet, peace be upon him, it was fair for people who were either Christians or Jews to ascertain the truth based on what they had available.
Okay.
The moment the Quran became available to you, it was no longer fair.
Okay. Were they accountable to the Gospel and Torah?
This is the follow-on from that exact same point.
Okay.
We are not in that time.
Okay, yeah.
So it was fair for them, but now it's different.
Now it's different. Totally agree with now. Totally agree now.
You must follow the Quran, the Hadith, to guarantee you're on the right path.
I get that last bit.
You can only be very, 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 very fortunate to follow correct belief if you are not a Muslim.
Okay, I get that last bit. I have no issue with that last bit. What I want to know is, were they accountable to follow the Torah and Gospel before Muhammad came?
That's what they had, yeah.
Then Allah's condemning them to hell for something they had no choice in.
Wrong.
Were their scriptures corrupted?
If the truth is inaccessible to you, and it's absolutely inaccessible to you, and there's no new prophet, you're judged based on what you can work with in terms of what you believe.
Okay,
if you're in the Amazon, you're judged on the Amazon rules.
So
a
Christian could believe God is triune, and that Jesus is the Son of God, and He was incarnate. A Christian before the time of the Quran could believe that, and the Quran says that we were accountable to follow that in our books.
That'd be wrong, yeah.
And what's going to happen to the Christian?
That'd be wrong. The Council of Nicaea was like the main point where everyone started to believe that, right?
Okay, fine. But at this point, this is after that, so all the Christians believe that now.
So from that point, from Council of Nicaea, there would have been a massive sin against anyone who, for legal reasons, purely legal reasons, worships Jesus.
Okay, so the Quran says they'll be accountable to it.
Yeah, that would. Because you.
So the author of the Quran condemns Christians when they have no choice about it.
That's wrong.
What choice do they have?
You can leave the land.
You can what?
You can leave the land.
Just like
in France right now, as a direct example, in France it's illegal for women to wear a full hijab.
Okay, so
if you leave the land, you can practice.
Think of it this way: there is a Christian in England in the 5th century.
Okay.
He's a Trinitarian.
Okay, that'd be wrong. Yeah.
He'd be wrong. Is he going to hell according to the Quran?
As far as I understand, on the nature of that society,
right?
Yes.
Okay, so the author of the Quran condemns Christians and Jews for things that they themselves have no choice in.
They do have choice.
How do they have choice? What choice do they have?
You can just choose not to do that.
No, the Quran says they have to follow the Torah and the Gospel, yes? They're accountable to it.
So that wouldn't be the Torah or the Gospel. That's the whole point we're saying. Trinitarianism is not the Torah or the Gospel. This is something that you need to understand.
Let's take Trinitarianism out of the equation. They believe that Jesus is the Son of God. They believe He's much more than a prophet, and they believe He's incarnate. Let's say they're all Arians.
Categorically not in the Torah or the Gospel.
Oh no, everything I said is in the Torah and Gospel.
It's not.
Sorry, the Gospel.
Correct Torah and Gospel, the correct book as it was,
are you now
is different to what we have now.
Oh, okay, so now you're saying that the Torah and Gospel is different from what we have.
Yeah, the Bible is nothing like it.
Okay, so it's a totally different book.
It's definitely, yes.
Okay, so when the Quran, this just made it worse now, because now the Quran author comes.
For you,
the Quran author comes and he says, Christians are Jews, and this is the message for mankind. Christians are Jews. You stand on nothing unless you follow the Torah, the Gospel, and everything that's come to you from your Lord, which is the Quran.
Is correct, yeah. Otherwise, it's
that's Surah 5 ayah 68.
Yeah, that's what you believe is correct so far.
Okay, and at this point, basically no Christians have access to the Torah or Gospel.
What you believe is correct so far, you should follow it. Else you're a hypocrite in both God's
So they
eyes
should
and
believe.
your own
They believe that Jesus is like pre-existent. He's incarnate. He had a baptism with the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit there. I don't think you understand. My point is,
I don't understand what you don't understand.
All of Christians.
I feel like I've been very clear and candid.
All of the Christians in this point in history did not have the Islamic view of Jesus. They all believe.
How do you know that?
Historically. Let's look at all the heresies in the early church. Arianism, Sabellianism, modalism, all these things, Docetism.
All of pretty big populations of Christians.
But my point is none of these are Jesus is just a prophet.
What was the percentage of the vote that said Jesus is definitely the Son of God and a deity?
Yeah.
What was the percentage on that? Because it wasn't 50%. It was less than 50%.
Wait, what? The Council of Nicaea?
Yeah.
Oh, it was 316 votes to 318. So 2 votes voted for Arius, 216 voted for Alexandria? I'm trying to remember his name. Yeah.
I know it was less than 50% that overall voted, but it was the majority vote.
It might have been less than 50% in that the total amount of bishops. But there is actually like conflicting accounts. One account is 300. Well, no, because both of them prove the point. It's either 316 out of 318 or 200 something out of 200 something. But the point is that it's the overwhelming majority.
Well, what I'm saying as a Muslim, at the end of the day, what I'm saying as a Muslim is, if you have ever believed that Jesus is a deity in any capacity, that is categorically incorrect, according to the truth.
Okay, but then the Quran condemns them for something they had no ability to do otherwise in.
I think you're the unjust one.
But do you not see what I'm saying here? If the Quran
is, see how you consider yourself correct or good.
Try to listen to what I'm saying.
No, I think
just a logic game. That's all it is. Just play it out and see how it goes.
You're pretending something doesn't work because you don't want it to work.
No, my friend.
When I've been very clear,
it doesn't work.
I think that's your own arrogance here. You want it to.
I want you to think about it, right?
You need to think about it. I've given you everything.
Again, Christian over in England. He's an Arian, for example. Doesn't need to be a Trinitarian. Yep. But what he believes is not in line with the Quran. He's committing shirk because he's associating Jesus with God, right? The Quran says Christians and Jews ought to judge by the Torah and the Gospel, and if they don't, they're accountable to it. That would mean that before the Quran came, that Christian in England who's an Arian is commanded to follow his own scripture, his own Gospel. He reads it, he reads all these things, and he concludes Arianism, which is wrong, but it's close to the Quranic description. And then Allah goes, you gotta go to hell now.
You know what's funny? Is that you're condemning us for this, but also you guys do it to each other. That's just a funny thing I've noticed.
How do we do that to each other?
Catholics say that Protestants aren't Christian and vice versa. I hear it all the time.
We're fairly ecumenical compared to Islam. In Islam, you guys fight each other. Really?
Absolutely.
Well, Athari, what are you, Wahhabi, and then you've got the Ash'ari, Maturidi. The Athari said the Ash'ari and the Maturidi are not following the Aqidah.
So this is completely a different point. And number one, it's a
but you know
wrong
that's
point.
true. You know that's true.
It's a wrong point.
How many Muslim da'is are friends here?
I feel like you are actually dissecting. Like you're actually dissecting.
You think that's a lie? You think that's a lie?
Most things you've said have been dishonest.
Paul Williams and Hashim and Masur
is a twist of the facts. And you've done many. That thing you just said is, number one, a massive twist of the facts.
Which one?
In terms of the difference.
Of course they do. Sheikh Rakatella doesn't get on with Dean Responds, who doesn't get...
And everything you said before has also been consistently twisted.
But you know that's true.
No.
Of course you know that's true. I'm not saying insult. I'm not to insult you.
If you can be bothered,
I'm just saying,
even though I don't.
My friend, I watch Muslim channels. I know who's at war with who and who doesn't like who.
The percentage of Muslims that are Sunni.
I mean, Daniel Hakikachu.
The percentage of Muslims that are Sunni.
Yeah.
78%.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
Roughly. The percentage of people that are Shia.
10, 15, well, I've seen 5 to 15.
Around 12%.
Yeah.
The very small amount of Muslims, categorically, we will only say they are not Muslim if they go against the Quran and if they go against the Prophet.
If they go against the Hadith.
If they go against the Quran and the Prophet,
and the Hadith.
They are categorically not Muslim.
Yeah. Quran only are not Muslim then.
Categorically.
Yeah.
If they go against the Quran and Hadith for not good reason, for example, I was Quran only for 10 years because I didn't know what the Hadiths were. Right. I didn't know why they were Hadith. I didn't know why people were supposed to care about them.
Sure.
I thought it was just hearsay.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to ignore. We're supposed to ignore hearsay. You're not supposed to do blind faith.
Yeah.
But the moment I understood what it was and what it was about and why it was important, I realized I should follow it. And so I do. Now, if you are somebody that sees that it's important, but it's more comfortable for you to ignore it, or maybe you like this sheikh a bit better, he likes, you like it, you like his voice, he tells you to whip himself and you think it's good, this is wrong. That's arrogance, right? And that is shirk because you're putting something else in front of God. Anyway, that's why we can say you're not Muslim. Anyway, if you're not a Muslim, or you ignore things about Islam, that's not an Islamic thing, that's a people thing. And that's why I called it dishonest, because that is not an Islam thing. That's not Islam.
Yeah, but it sounds like you've thought about it. Can I just finish it? It sounds like you've kind of thought about it in a way that if anyone really comes against Islam, that person can't be sincere.
Against, yeah.
Well, there you are then.
Because the Quran puts it forward that way. The Quran specifically says you will only find issue with its pages if you've already gone into it trying to disbelieve. If you've not been fair and unbiased to it,
but do you understand
then you will continue to be disbelieving, and you will cause people to be led to the truth and away from the truth.
But you understand
by
that
your arrogance.
Anyone could do that though. Like even a Christian could say.
It's free will thing.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's not a very good argument. If I could just say to you, well, I've already concluded that you're dishonest, and the reason I've concluded you're dishonest is because you're going against the Bible. You'd be like, well, hang on a second. You have to step out of that. Right. So likewise, we got to both do that, right? Yeah.
Is that where you want to go with this talk? Is there proof of the Quran that it's from God? I don't think it might benefit you if you've read the whole thing.
What do you? Sorry, do you say there's proof in the Quran that shows it's from God? Is that your?
Yeah, I became a Muslim because I liked the logic, science, and mathematics behind it. Some people like the poetry. Some people like the facts around it. Same with Christianity. The different things people like about the Bible. I personally, the way my brain works, I like facts and logic. I don't really care for the flowery things and colours and pretty things.
Sure.
Facts and logic is.
Facts and logic are good. I like that.
I like it. Yeah. The numerical thing. In fact, this is something for the people of the Scripture to consider. Specifically, there is something in the Quran about the Quran referred to as the number 19.
Yes, I know where you go. Yes. Surah 73 or 75, something like that.
One of them.
It talks about the number of the angels that guard
hellfire.
That's it. Yes.
But then, if you look at that exact chapter, all of the verses are very short, except for the one immediately after that sentence, and that one.
Yes.
And that one specifically says, essentially, by the way, this number in particular is nothing but a test for people of the for people of the scripture in particular. And from this number, you will believe or not believe more, so on and so forth. Now, the reason why I think that's interesting is because, number one, this came from a heretic, which in itself is dubious, right? As in, the person who really uncovered system of the number 19 in the Quran was a heretic. The reason why we know this is because after finding that all the verses in the Quran, the numbers, like the number of surahs, divisible by 19, number of verses, divisible by 19, number of like key sort of spaces in the Quran, their verses, divisible by 19, and there's like a whole list of it. The reason why we know he's a heretic, even though he found that and it's there, is because he tried to force a new Quran, make his own one by changing words, changing the lengths of sentences, changing things. And that's not what you're allowed to do. You're not allowed to write with your own hand and ascribe it to God, ever, right? That's what we tell you guys for this. Not you in particular, but like, again.
Now, love it's your scriptures as well.
But the thing is, what I got from it, as someone who likes mathematics, it's not asking you to know maths, but if you appreciate maths, you'll be able to see that the author of the Quran is supposedly able to manipulate the number 19 to the thousands of times, like times tables of the number 19 to thousands, right? And do it while also being completely coherent and unchanged by time. Like this in, like if the Arabic is there from day one to like now and it's still there, you can't just do that. Chinese whispers should change something. Now, I appreciate that. The person who found it did not appreciate it. He wanted to change God's words as a result. This is an example of the test. Some people might go into numerology and say, oh, let me consult the witches on regards to what this number might mean. Again, that would be an avenue for going astray, purely because they already thought it was okay to consult witches and numerology, right? So again, this is something that God should be able to do. It's a very high level of ability that is that whoever this book came from has demonstrated, and I don't think I can't see anything like that in the Bible that's consistent.
Well, Christians have done this as well, actually. So I don't believe this, but there's a very popular book called the Bible Code, and it was very prominent in the 90s. The guy who wrote it, he actually left his career in, like, I think it was either basketball or baseball or something in America, and he was convinced of this, and he hired like a team of like IT guys, because this was like when the computers were becoming a thing, and basically he was like, if you take the number of fishes that are caught at the end of John's Gospel, 153, and you look at the Greek, and then you translate that, and you look at other places, and you can make like jumps in certain consistent gaps, and you get the same consistent themes and words, and you do it over and over again. And he argued that this was proof that God had a secret code all throughout the Bible.
That's pretty cool.
Now, I'm not a big fan of that, but
that's really cool.
Well, I'll argue it's not. I argue it's not, and I'll have reasons for it. But the reasons I would argue it's not is the same reasons I'm going to go with in the Quran and say it's not with the Quran either. So ultimately, I'll give you a compliment. I'll give the Quran a compliment first. The Quran is pretty well preserved.
Okay.
Yeah? But it's not perfectly preserved. There are different variants that are found in the Qira'at, the different readings, that do change things slightly. And so when for example, there are different traditions about how many words are in the Quran. And depending on what answer you want to get, I mean, they're not like massively off, but they're not the same. And the reason they're not the same is because there are different Qira'at traditions that consider things differently, which in turn means...
The word letters in the Quran is... words in the Quran is pretty good. Like letters in the Quran, yeah. Like for example, Maliki Yawmiddin and Maliki Yawmiddin.
Right.
If you're reciting them, not only do they sound similar, but they're also written the same way. Like the word read and read are exactly the same word in every way except context. So things like that are so those are the extent of a number of words, number of sentences, it's not like against the Bible that have different numbers of whole books in its library.
Well, the problem with that is you basically have to take it on the authority of Uthman when he did his recension that what he did was not human temperament. Because if it is, then everything that scholars can go back to, it stops with Uthman. We can't go before Uthman because Uthman, his codex is the only thing we really have. We do have variants that are different that can precede it, but there's a debate about it. But really, scholars just have to say, yeah, whatever Uthman produced is the Quran we have today, basically. There are variants that come after that in the Qira'at, but that's it. So from an Islamic point of view, you guys basically just have to say, we hope in that 20-year period that everything was faithfully transmitted and Uthman didn't take liberties at all.
I would, yeah, it's fair to say you have to analyze the scripture itself and evaluate if this is written by a man or not. In fact, the Quran gives you a lot of parameters to help you with this. In fact, the Quran actually says if this were written by anyone other than God, you would find contradictions in it.
That's what I need to ayah 82.
Yeah, so I'm aware you've heard a lot of this before. I'm just putting it out there as the point.
Yeah.
It also says if this is not from God specifically, the producer chapter like it, producers are
But you know what's really, you see, to me, from a logical mind perspective, that's not a good argument. Like if I heard that outside of the Quran, say for example it's in the Bible, right? If it said, if this were other from God, you would surely find many contradictions in it. The first thing I want to point out is, why does it say many? Why is the Arabic plural? That seems, why did it just say any? The Arabic is plural. It says many. If you don't even look at a transliteration or even just an English translation, I'll tell you many. As in, you need to find many contradictions, and that shows it's not from God.
I wouldn't take it that way. I would say if it's from anyone other than God, you will find many contradictions. That's how
many contradictions, right?
How you will find many others if it's not from God. You won't just find one if it's not from God. You'll find many if it's not.
Yeah. So my point with that is, what stops you from saying, well, if you find a contradiction in the Quran, it's fine because there's only one, when the Quran said very clearly there'll be many.
Silly loophole, I would say. I mean,
my point is the Quran can clearly say you would find a contradiction
in other people's work if it's not from God, right?
Right.
Because not only will you not find one mistake, but you must find, if you find one mistake, guaranteed you will find many others.
Right.
That's the wages.
But the whole point is it's a test to which to compare the Quran with.
Yeah.
It's saying the Quran does not have many contradictions in it.
Not like that. Not like that.
Brother, if you read it, that's what it's saying. I know how you want to look at it, but that's not in line with what the text says.
Maybe there's a bias here on my side, because that's how I genuinely understand it.
Sure.
What I'm saying is, this is a ballsy wager from God, the author of the Quran, that not only will you not find one, but if you were to find one, you will also find many.
Right.
And that is absolutely, like, it's saying you won't even find one.
But why did you say that?
It's a wager. It's a language thing and a wager.
Okay, so my other problem with it anyway is the fact that actually you can produce works, claim they are from God, and they have no contradictions in them. So, for example,
that's not the criteria. Like, if you were to have them like for like with another, if you were to make quote unquote a verse and reduce it to people, they shouldn't be able to find anything that distinguishes it from the other. Like I've seen, every time I've seen personally, I have seen some people try and put forward some verses. Every time I've seen it, I've always seen something like, nah, that doesn't work. Every single time.
I think you're conflating two things here. So I'm talking about Surah An-Nisa ayah 82, where it talks about if this was from other than Allah, there will surely be many contradictions. So,
like the hadith, there's actually many contradictions in the hadith.
All right, sure.
Because it's not from God. It's from the Prophet and the men around him and the people of the time from the first few generations that comprised it. Yeah. It's not from God himself directly. Hence, there's issues with compilation. There's a lot of things here and there.
That's fine. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I could write a book, claim it's from God, and have no contradictions in it. I could meet that standard.
The Quran says that that's not something you'll see.
Well, I mean, I could do it if you gave me. I mean,
like
to be honest with you,
book, you can't really make any contradictions in it if it's a story, like a flowing story.
Okay, so non-fiction.
Like the Quran, non-fiction,
yeah,
talking about history, talking about science, or what, even if it's just one of the topics, there should be something somewhere that's on the subject. Like if you're looking at a school science book from like the year 1960, when they thought that the sun didn't orbit anything in space, but then you compare now and it says it does orbit in space. Okay, that's an example.
Right, yeah, but so it's very simple. We could do a thought experiment. Someone could write a science book, believe it's from God, and have no errors in it. But that doesn't mean it's from God, though. Do you see the problem?
A little bit lost.
Okay, so the verse says, if this is other from Allah, it would have many contradictions in it. But I can produce something, claim it's from God, have no contradictions in it, but that's clearly not from God.
Like the Quran.
Yeah, we can make it like the Quran if you want as well.
No, that's what it is. That's the test. Make something like the Quran. Produce something like the Quran, like its verse, like its chapter, any other text you want to go by. Sure. But you want to try and imitate or do better than the Quran. Right. If you try that, you will fail. That's the wager.
Okay, so that's another thing the Quran says. It says you can't. It's inimitable. You can't make something like the Quran, right?
That's the boast it's making.
What objective claim does the Quran give to know how to make something like the Quran?
Well, you've got the Quran there.
Right.
Imitate it. You're smart. You can do it.
Yeah, but imitate it how? Like I could imitate it in the sense of I can make it rhyme. because the Quran rhymes in many places.
Rhymes
I could
in
write it in
Arabic.
Arabic because the Quran is written in Arabic.
Definitely, yeah. You have to be correct about everything you say. Maybe add a prophecy if you're feeling fancy. Talk about.
Well, the Quran has lots of
history,
places where there are
perhaps.
not prophecies. So
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right.
The Quran is a very varied book. Some of it talks about history, some talks about lots of things.
Well, that sounds like that's been done a lot.
Your
then.
aim is to write something that you think could absolutely either blow the Quran away or at least slot within its pages unknown.
Yeah, and but my point is that the Quran itself doesn't give an objective criteria, which is difficult.
Yeah, because we're smart, and if it's not,
Well, no,
if it's
because
written by a man, you can outdo
Well, my point is that I've asked many Muslims this, and they've each given their own criteria. Some say it's the poetic nature. Some say it's the truthness of it. Some say prophecies. Some say.
There's lots of things you could do, yeah.
But which is it? Is it all of it?
Well, whatever you can manage. It just has to be better.
So it's not an objective criteria, though.
It is an objective criteria. Are you going to do the thing or not? Are you going to attempt it?
What I just illustrated is that different Muslims have different answers.
So now your issue is that
it's not objective.
Like what the Jews had when God said to provide a cow to be slaughtered. Was it a cow or calf? And they said, what type of cow? Oh, she must be a virgin cow.
Right.
What type of virgin cow? Oh, she must be a brown virgin cow. And in the end, they found exactly the specification, and were still annoyed that they had to do it.
Yeah.
This is similar to what you're doing, where, does it have to be in Arabic? Does it have to be this?
Yeah, but how do I know how to fulfill the challenge? That's my whole point.
Ask the people of knowledge. They've given you some criteria. You've got your own eyes to look at.
But that just sounds like it just depends who I ask.
Well, no, like if you look at a statue and someone says make a statue, you can't say, does it have to be out of clay? Does it have to be this?
Yeah, but a statue is subjective. You're talking about its beauty.
It's the same thing. It's a stimulus. Can you recreate the stimulus or do better than it?
But that's beauty again. I can't I'm not going to be able to.
God's not gonna,
It'll be like
you what you need. If you want to do what the Jews did, which is pretend there's issues or requirement for further detail where there isn't any, then you're just going to continue to have those issues because you're choosing.
But my point is, unless I have,
maybe you're scared to attempt it.
What I'm trying to get to is, without an objective criteria, I don't know how to solve this puzzle. Do you understand? From a logic point of view.
God is wrong for telling you to do it.
Yeah, this makes me think it's not from God. This makes me think it's not from God. It's
because it's too hard, that's why.
Well, no, because there's no objective criteria.
The objective criteria is what you see.
That's not objective.
You're putting forward that this book is...
Okay, if I wrote something...
You're putting forward that this book is objectively not from God, for whatever reason.
Yeah,
right?
well, because it has human arguments.
It's either from... The only other intelligent things it could be from is a demon of sorts, whatever.
Well, I would just say human.
Or a human.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really other intelligent things that communicate in this way at least, right?
Right.
That I know at least.
Sure.
That's what you're saying.
Yep.
If it's a guy,
right,
you're a guy. You can beat another guy if you're good enough at what he's doing.
But what's the standard to do that? Like if I need to beat a guy in a race, I need to know where the finish line is.
And just be ahead of him until you reach it.
But how do I know if I reached it?
Okay.
You can't win a race if you don't know where the race starts and ends.
The criteria so far is, you've got Arabic.
So does it have to be in Arabic?
Yeah, people will roast you for not being Arabic.
But how do you know it?
Because the Quran is in Arabic. So if it's like the Quran, it'll be in Arabic, right?
Alright, okay.
Arabic,
okay, so it has to be in Arabic.
It might take you a year, but you can do it. Right?
Okay, alright.
Try and practice on your poetry a bit. Maybe you look at some... Maybe what you can do, come up with something that nobody knew at the time.
Right.
Because that's what the Quran does very often.
Okay.
Yeah, it talks about, the heaven and the earth being a single mast and then being torn asunder, which now is what scientists are saying is basically what happened at the very beginning of the universe.
Right,
which is just a funny sort of parallel. It could very have easily been wrong, but now scientists are chill with it, right?
Okay.
Talks about, the lowest point on Earth being exactly where the Byzantines would be defeated in a few years.
Yeah, well, I've listened to Ali Dawah. Ali Dawah says the scientific miracles are not in any way valid, so I just follow Ali Dawah.
Not in any way valid?
Yeah, he said that he became a Muslim.
Ali Dawah is just a guy, right?
Yeah, but my point is that...
You're following... You might as well say, I listened to Barry down the pub. He's just a dude.
My point is this.
He hasn't even been Muslim for that long.
Ali Dawah?
Yeah, he became a Muslim quite later on in life. He's not
a scholar, but he's been a Muslim for at least 10 years.
Well,
at least 7 years. Anyway,
Muhammad Hijab knows better than him, and even he is not a scholar.
Right, but my point is this: is that there are many Muslims that say no, it's not true.
What?
That there are scientific miracles in the Quran.
That's false.
All right, well,
that'd be
your Muslim brothers say otherwise.
Like, for example, I became a Muslim because of the scientific miracles.
Ali Dawah did.
He became a Muslim.
Yeah, he says on his video, he says, I initially became a Muslim.
I'm talking about guy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but my point is,
not the Quran or a scholar.
Well, there are many Islamic scholars that don't think you should look at the Quran as a scientific manual. There are many scholars that say that.
I've never heard anyone say, like, for example, if something is absolutely mind-boggling.
What's his name?
You can call it a miracle. A beautiful sunset is a miracle. The fact that we're alive and breathing today, these are all miracles.
Okay, but my point is that there's many good reasons not to think that. But anyway, we're going back to the question of inimitability.
You don't think it's a miracle that we can breathe and our lungs work fine and our...
None of the Quran talks about it, no.
You don't think it's a miracle that...
Well, Egyptians knew a lot of this stuff from before.
You don't think it's a miracle...
Like metal coming down from heaven, the Egyptians knew about that. They knew meteorites had iron.
They knew that iron specifically was the only way iron came to the planet, was from meteors.
Well, they know it came from meteorites,
the Quran specifically says sent down only with iron.
The Quran says there are two... there's a point where the oceans don't part and stuff. Yeah. We know what that's referring to.
If you were a seafarer,
an estuary.
Which the desert people were not.
Right. Sure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Then I'd expect you to know that, especially if you lived in the area of it.
Well, my point is that there are people people travel.
Also, you gloss over the miracle that I did mention, where God not only predicts the fall of the Byzantine Empire, but did so while also saying that it happens in the lowest point above Earth's surface.
Well, he said it takes place between 3 and 9 years, so that's very suspicious in the first place.
The word was a few.
Also, there's a Qur'an variant that changes the prophecy.
In a few years, that America will
it's
be
an
taken
idiom.
over by the Japanese.
It's an idiom that means roughly 3 to 9 years.
The word used means a few. Like the English word "few" means a small amount.
It's an Arabic idiom. That's why if you look at the commentaries, they'll say roughly between. Yes, I know, but I've read about it.
Neither do I. So it's silly for us.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But if you literally read a commentary on Surah Al-Rum.
The miracle that you're overlooking is, number one, an accurate prediction. It did happen soon after, and the soon wasn't. Hear me out.
Yeah.
The soon wasn't drastically after, and it wasn't the next day.
Right.
It was very immediately after in terms of year. It was 5 years later. Now, the second thing was that on the lowest earth, the word used is lowest earth. Every translation says nearest land, because lowest earth is hard to translate. But now with Google Maps, everywhere in the Amazon and Antarctica, nowhere is lower above sea level, yet not below sea, than exactly that area. That's a miracle. That's a correct prediction.
I would just say they heard the area in which it happened, and they knew it was famous for being very low level.
First, famously, it was like 2 millimeters this way, I think. So technically, you're wrong, and I'm right. That's what I'm hearing from you, my guy.
No, I'm just saying it would have been common knowledge about what happens to the Byzantine Empire.
So are you?
That's not.
I generally.
You know that we hear these stories. They predate the Quran. You know that, right?
It predicts it beforehand.
No. I'm saying the idea that there are people who are writing prophetic works about how Rome is going to come back predates the Quran.
That's irrelevant. The Quran
okay, well that's fine. But my point is, it's not miraculous, is what I'm saying here.
That's a lie. It says something bound by time and bound by space.
So when
because you don't like it.
Well, it's not because I don't like it. I'm not convinced of it.
I think it's because you don't like it.
So there's a variant in this that changes the prophecy anyway. So again, you'll have to stick to the Hafs reading to even have this. If you go to other readings, you'll hear differently. So again...
Do you fear God?
Yeah, I do, yeah. That's why I'm a Christian.
You fear God?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%?
100%.
Do you care for truth?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
How can you say that God doesn't make miracles?
No, I'm not saying God doesn't make miracles. I'm saying,
You're saying
the
fact that we can breathe is not a miracle.
No, I'm not saying that. You misunderstood me.
The fact that God can predict something.
I'm saying in the Quran, I'm saying in the Quran, these things are either common knowledge, known by other things. They're not miraculous.
So that's wrong, categorically, because every translation of it says nearest land. They didn't know that.
Not many Muslims are going to be on the side for that one.
No, not many people. Every single translation says nearby land or nearest land.
Well,
when the Arabic specifically is lowest earth.
Okay.
You can take that however you want, but it does imply.
I'm not convinced by it.
It does imply that the people didn't understand what it meant when it said lowest earth.
Okay.
If you want to ignore it because of bias.
Well, I'm not ignoring it because of bias. I'm just not convinced by it. I mean, was it really hard to say that the largest empire in the world would eventually retake after a particular battle?
It's hard to say anything that happens.
Well, I mean, if you gave me 3 to 9 years, I could take a pretty good stab.
Oh, then do it about America. When's America going to fall? Do it about the UK. We've been alive for a very long time. We're well over it.
No.
Go for it.
You're ignoring the context. The Byzantine Empire and Persia, they were at war for... The biggest conflict at this time was these guys. They constantly went to war for many periods of time, right? At one point, Persia looked like they were getting the upper hand. Then the Byzantine came over.
Byzantine were definitely by far the strongest.
Well, okay, fine, but there were periods of back and forth. The land right above Northern Arabia was a land that was repeatedly taken. Like Israel was conquered and then conquered by the Persians, then conquered back by the Byzantines.
Have you ever placed a bet on a football game?
No. But
Good. We don't know anything here.
Okay.
But you've seen the rates, right? The 1,000 to 1 odds, the 12 to 1
I guess
odds.
things would be very unlikely.
But you're saying it's trivial. Especially if you do
well, yeah, if I said 3 to 9 years, they'll have a victorious battle. Anyway, listen, inimitability. There's no.
It's easy to focus on. It's not impressive at all.
But going back to the standard the Quran gives, inimitability, there is no standard in the Quran, so it's a poor argument.
Wrong.
Logically, it's a poor argument.
You have eyes.
You don't know what the standard
You have
is.
eyes and you have people of knowledge.
That's subjective.
But you're saying it's not enough.
That's subjective. You're basically saying if it looks like it to me, then I meet the standard.
Well, if I gave you it again, I'll give the exact same parable. There's a statue.
Yeah.
And it looks like a guy in a pose.
Right.
And I say, can you make this statue?
Right.
Your issue
that
is,
sounds massively subjective.
Your issue is, I'm not going to bother because I don't know what a statue is that it wants.
No. I know what a statue is.
Does he want me to
I know what that looks
the
like.
same size, of the same material, of the same.
Yeah, but that is the
gender?
point. Because how do I know how
the statue.
Yeah, but how? What? The exact same thing?
Do you speak English?
Wait. So it's a challenge to literally just reproduce the Quran the same.
If in school you were supposed to write a PE paragraph about a chapter in a book that you were given,
right?
What, this book?
Okay, so you can't do the same thing. Well, that'd be plagiarism.
Am I writing it about the language? It's in,
yeah, but this is So, how are you marked?
Silly.
How are you marked?
It's silly.
Why is it silly?
You've got the criteria.
Wait. The standard we use in schools for judging this is according to a criteria.
So
literally the curriculum.
So do it.
So what's a curriculum for this standard of the Quran?
Curriculum for the standard of the Quran.
Yeah, the Quran says.
Very clear. No mistakes.
No mistakes.
There's prophecies. In Arabic.
No, because there's many parts of the Quran that are no prophecies.
Yeah, there's prophecies.
So all the chapters without any prophecies lesser than the ones with chapters?
You have something extraordinary of that nature.
What does that mean?
Every single verse of the Quran has something extraordinary about it.
What does that mean? Okay, I think that tree is extraordinary.
Yeah, so make a tree.
Okay, so if I tell you,
wait,
can you explain what I mean when I say that tree is extraordinary?
Oh, you can mean a lot of things.
Exactly. So I need to clarify, don't I?
So, in the way that you see it as extraordinary, make that tree.
Okay, but you don't. What is that?
You're the one saying it's extraordinary.
No. In this analogy, I'm saying that tree is extraordinary. You need to produce something like that tree in order to be from Allah, right?
The issue is.
But you can't do that because you don't know what extraordinary means.
Criteria. Again, God respects each of us individually. God knows what we understand, what we won't understand. God knows what we like, what we don't like in terms of information, what we can handle, what we can't handle. You can see the Quran in some capacity. Do your best to emulate what you see in all the ways that so you know for a fact that the Quran is written in Arabic. So you might want to learn some Arabic in order to imitate it in that way.
Sure.
You know that in many places, not all the places, but in many places it rhymes. So if you want to imitate a portion that rhymes, go for it.
Or not if I want to imitate a portion that doesn't rhyme.
Yeah, you just say you're emulating a part that doesn't rhyme.
So it's Arabic, can rhyme, maybe, and also cannot rhyme. Can have prophecy, but also not have prophecy.
Depends what you're actively choosing to emulate.
It sounds subjective.
Are you doing a chapter?
It's subjective.
One that doesn't rhyme?
But it's subjective, isn't it?
You're being silly.
No, you know it's subjective. You know it's subjective.
You're genuinely being silly.
You know it's subjective.
Wrong.
Because every criteria you've given, you've also given the opposite.
You have
the only one you've given me that it is it has to be in Arabic.
So it has to be in the Quran. Do you know how many things are in the Quran that you can pick from?
Okay, 114 chapters,
Yeah, that you could pick from.
All right.
Do you know how many verses you can pick from?
To
the fact that you
imitate.
have multiple options that you can pick from
right.
doesn't make it an issue of the question, it makes it an issue of you for intentionally pretending that you can't.
But you can't tell me what it is.
I think I
Which no, you haven't. You said it has to be in Arabic. It can rhyme or not rhyme. It has prophecy or not prophecy.
Pick a chapter.
Right.
Pick a verse.
Right.
Emulate it in a way that's better or worse.
And how do I know I've done that?
By showing it to people and they'll agree with you.
So it's subjective. Thank you. You've just shown me the author of the Quran. The author of the Quran is a human making human arguments. That's a human argument.
You're an absolute disgusting liar. Disgusting liar.
My friend.
It's genuinely disgusting.
Don't do that. Look,
it's disgusting.
But you can't answer this.
I can answer it in a way that you will twist.
You've just told me I need to ask
disgusting.
people for their opinion.
It's disgusting.
About whether or not a Quran verse has been imitated.
The same way that the Jews were discussing for when Moses gave them a command, deferring it and pretending it was invalid, and pretending it was invalid. You're calling a direct command from God and His messenger
because it's obviously human.
That is disgusting.
It's human.
If you're doing it to Jesus,
bro,
it's disgusting.
I could make a better thing with
Moses,
that.
it's disgusting.
I can literally
You're doing
improve
it to
the
Muhammad,
argument.
It's disgusting.
I can literally improve the argument.
I respect the prophets, I respect my God.
But you've switched your brain off. You've switched your brain off.
Because I'm hurt.
Don't be hurt by what I'm saying. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm not, like, I genuinely want you to see what I'm seeing, and I want you to just open your mind a little bit to see that. If you can answer it, good, because it'll make your faith stronger, it'll make your iman stronger. But if it doesn't, then think about why it doesn't.
If you want to hear
if the shubha come, think about why.
Because I think you switched off a while ago, to be honest. What hurts me is you have a genuine method of doing what you want to do, but you're pretending that you don't for the sake of proving a point.
I applied logic, and you were a logical man.
To not only yourself, but also to God. He's respecting your ability.
I don't think this is from God.
He's respecting your ability to do something.
Right,
and you're pretending.
I don't think God wrote that, because that's very human.
If I were to tell you to walk over there, you'd say, how many feet?
God says, look, here's a challenge. I point out it's not an objective challenge, so it can never be met.
So if I was to say stand on the left, you'd say how far to the left? And you would ignore the command because of that reason.
See, the point is you've just turned your brain off. You know what I'm saying, but you're repeating something someone's told you because that helps you a little bit.
I don't do that.
Of course you do. But I can tell you're a logical guy. I know that you can follow this. If I told you you can know what is from God based on how beautiful it is, the first thing you would say is, well, how do we know that? And I'll say, I'm not going to tell you.
The thing is, I knew that the conversation would be this way from the get-go because you said you read the entire Quran.
I have.
And were turned away from it. The Quran specifically points out that you will only remain on this path.
The Quran insults me, by the way.
If you've chosen beforehand to remain on this path.
The Quran
this conversation
me.
is not going to be as strong as the Quran itself.
Well, I think the Quran's very weak. I think you are more rational than the Quran.
Well, I appreciate that sentiment, even though I disagree with it.
Fair, but I want you to think about what I've said.
Chris?
Because if you can't give an objective criteria, then that challenge in the Quran is human. It's not divine.
It's unfortunate that your book promotes you to do this.
Your scriptures are my scriptures, my friend.
When I read the Bible, this is what I see.
The Torah and the Gospel are your scriptures as well.
No.
Your Quran affirms the Torah and the Gospel. I showed you the Quran.
Well, sorry.
I showed you the Quran and you're saying the Quran's wrong.
I told him why it's wrong a long time ago, but he's going back to it because he switched off.
Well, no, because you just started talking about my Bible. I'm just going to say, the things you're trying to challenge are your scriptures. Your prophet confirmed my scriptures.
You're trying to challenge yourself. You're putting a wall in front of your face and saying, I can't walk forward because of this wall.
It's not objective. It's not objective.
God knows you're putting the wall there on purpose.
It's not objective. Well, what's your name, my friend? My name's Chris.
Tarek is my name.
Sorry, my friend. You told me
I would
earlier.
ask God to guide you.
I completely forgot it.
But I don't want to undermine your free will. Have a good day, my friend.
All right. Have a nice day, Tarek. So I had a nice chat with a Muslim man named Tariq. Very friendly, at least in the beginning. He started to insult and say I was a disgusting human being near the end. Unfortunately, I fear that's the spirit of Islam, sadly, that he's following. I wish him all the best. I hope he repents and becomes a Christian, because that spirit has not done him any good. I could sense he was getting angry the more I was speaking to him, and that's not good. But we talked about the Islamic dilemma. He couldn't give any answers. I brought up the point that the Quran is in error because it says that the Christians and Jews before the time of Muhammad were accountable to follow the Torah and the Gospel. But the problem is that the Torah and Gospel have, from an Islamic paradigm, blasphemous things against Allah. So Allah judges the Christians and Jews to follow their own scripture, sends them to hell for not doing it, but those scriptures also contradict Allah. So it's basically, it shows that Allah is, in the Quran, he's incoherent, he's talking nonsense. Hey man.
Sorry about that.
No,
I do ask God to guide you. I was still just a bit shaken up. Have a good day though, yeah?
That's all right. No, I forgive you. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. That was Tariq. Like I said, for the beginning part, is particularly did a great job. Got a little bit heated at the end, but if you just apologise, said he wishes me well. All right, that's cool. But yeah, and then lastly we talked about we started to go into the Qurans, the different Qurans. He was saying that the number 19 is a miraculous proof of the Quran, as well as the scientific miracles. I brought up the fact that there are clearly other cultures that knew this before the Quran did, and also other Islamic people of knowledge, supposedly, like Ali Dawah, who said no, the Islamic claim of scientific miracles is false. So I brought that up. But then he started talking about how the Quran itself makes these arguments. So Surah An-Nisa, ayah 82, says you won't find contradictions in the Quran, many contradictions. I pointed out that why would the Quran say many? Why wouldn't it just say one? But also, it's quite clear from the Islamic dilemma that it does contradict itself. Also, you can write a book that has no contradictions in it and claim it's from God, but that doesn't mean it's actually from God. That would be nonsense. Then he said the Quran is inimitable, you cannot produce something like it, that is proof that it's from God. I pointed out there's no objective criteria for this, to which you couldn't have an answer. So, sadly, I don't think he had much of substance there, but I wish him well and I hope he becomes a Christian and he repents. God bless you all, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Easter. God bless. That's been a while. God bless you.